Now close them. That's way too loud. That is so loud. What is wrong with you?
I have a problem.
What is wrong with you? So, all right, we're gonna take out my car on track now. I wanted to show Colby what the competition does in comparison to his non-comp on the track. So we're gonna compare the two as this is a showdown. I'm pretty excited. Are your hands sweating?
A little bit. A little bit.
All right,
I'm
man.
Excited, nervous, but I am so pumped to be out here. It is a beautiful day. It
is a gorgeous day here at Harris Hill Road, and we're going to make the absolute best that we can of this. I am super excited that we all found the time to come out. Here we go! Checking the spots, anyone coming, we're good. So we're just going to kind of get her a little warmed up right now. It's okay. So we're going to do one warm-up lap.
The warm-up?
Yeah. And then we're going to do, you see how it rotates? We're going to do 3 hot laps. But, alright, so I'm going to talk about my car for a little bit. When I first got this car, it had stock alignment. And the thing about that is, I took it to several track days with stock alignment. However, I noticed that the car understeered a lot. Like, it was very understeery. And that was really frustrating for me because I was like, I freaking hate understeer, dude. I would much rather have some oversteer than understeer, because think about it. If you're going somewhere, you're trying to take a turn, and you end up understeering, you're going straight to where you're going, and it's really frustrating because you can't do anything about it except for let off steering. So I was really frustrated with this car when I took it to track. However, I learned to rotate it in the throttle, not thinking anything about it. So I digress. I ended up getting some camber plates. The only modification done to this car is camber plates. They are the camber plates. I've dialed in the alignment to -2.5 camber in the front, and then we did, I think, -2 in the rear. Made a massive difference. I can rotate my car on center so much more, and the initial turn in is so much more direct now. It's incredible. Look at this. Look how this rotates. Look at this. Oh. Look at this. God, man. So this car transformed completely whenever I did the camber plates. And lo and behold, even though it's a heavy ass car, she rotates nicely. So brakes, my brakes are phenomenal. However, the front rotors have some cracks in them, so we're kind of just chancing it right now because I need to get new front rotors. And it is what it is. She still stops incredibly well. The brakes are the highlight of this car, even though they make it a little bit heavier, which I think is insane. Yeah, man, what do you think so far? Tell me.
Dude, I'm so happy to be out here. This is just so much fun.
You're just happy to be here.
I'm just happy to
Colby's
be here.
just happy to be here. And I feel that. I'm just happy to be here too, because it's just a gorgeous day here in Arizona. You just gotta flip it in here, just like that. And then get on the brake a little bit, rotate right there. So you want to take a set right into the apex, all the way track out. And she just does exactly what she wants to do. It's so much fun to trail brake in these cars too. And this, I'm going to talk about the motor. S55, hey, it doesn't sound good at all, but good lord does it produce a good punch. Like, this motor is an incredibly punchy motor. Has good low end power, good mid-range power. However, the power through the power band up top, around 5,000 RPM, just kind of dies out, and I don't know why. It's frustrating to me because this car could be so good if they didn't detune it. because I know why it dies out after about 5,000 RPM. Because they detuned it. They detuned it from the M3 and M4 because they didn't want this car to step on the M3 and M4's toes. We have this car that's a little neutered, but hey, the low end is really what makes it nice and punchy. I love that it's super punchy. Look at that, the shifter I don't like. My least favorite thing about this car is the shifter because it's very big. It's really long throws, and you're talking to a guy that came from a Miata. Miatas, I've had 5 Miatas. I know I've probably already said it several times, but essentially, this gearbox is so numb to me. It's a very, very, very numb gearbox to me, and it's frustrating because I've had this car for about 8 months now, maybe 8 months, and I'm just now getting used to feeling this out because it's not very responsive. So definitely one of the mods I want to do is a short shift transmission. Isn't that a rush right there?
Oh my god, dude.
A little bit of rotation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, this car, again, it's an extremely heavy car. 3,600 pounds. It's not a lightweight car, especially compared to what I'm used to. But you can use its bumpering and body roll characteristics to your advantage, just because once you take a set, you feel everything the car is doing, and you want that. You want that communication. And this car is, it tells you exactly what it's doing at all times. Clutches and pedals, second biggest problem with this car. The actual clutch is good, but good God, it's such a long travel. That clutch is such a long travel, it's so frustrating because I hate having to put my foot all the way up in the air and stamping down. Overall, this is an incredible platform. I think that I made the right choice by going from an ND Miata to this car, because the ND Miata, I could have spent another 20 grand to get it to this level of speed, and that's a lot of money. Or you could just take all that and just buy the car with a factory warranty as is and get this. Even though it's heavier, that's my only gripe. So enjoy the silence right now because we're going to do some attacking. All right, well, that was short-lived. I was kind of excited to push with him. Maybe he'll follow me. We're going to go ahead and get into Colby's car. I'm going to go ahead and let this guy cool down a little bit. But yeah, we'll see you in Colby's car. All right, we're back. Another day. We had to come out another day just because the last time Colby, we had some issues with the traction control system, just because it kept putting us in comfort mode for who knows what reason. I'm not sure. We went out there and we had DSC off, which is traction control off, in the Sport Plus mode, and it kept reverting back, and I think it was a safety system for this car that would revert it back to comfort if it detected that the tire pressure was low enough. So anyways, we're back and we're gonna give this another try. We made sure to keep the air in the tires this time. I wanted to lower them just because of the pressures, and today it's a pretty cold day, so I think that I think we'll be okay today. But let's go. So Colby, go ahead and tell them about your car, man.
Yeah, so this is my 2018 N55 M2, also known as the OG M2. It is a dual clutch, which now that I've lived with the car for a while, I realize that I should have got a manual, but the dual clutch is phenomenal nonetheless.
Still solid, still very good.
It's a great transmission. I mean, right there slots just below PDK in my opinion, as far as responsiveness and just character. But yeah, nonetheless, still a great car. It's gone through. I've got it full bolt on, so stage 2. Got some bigger tires, different wheels.
Yeah, what size tires are you running again?
Yeah, so 255 35 R19 in the front, and a 285 35 R19 in the rear.
So big, beefy tires.
Yeah, oversized.
You are on lowering springs, correct?
Yes, yeah, H&R lowering springs.
Holy crap.
It's a different car.
It is different. Oops.
Yep.
I forgot to put the seat down.
No, it's all good.
Hit the camera, sorry guys. Wow.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to redo it.
This is totally different from the last time.
Yep.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, so exactly why I wanted to redo it, because in comfort mode, it's just a different car. It's not fair to the car. And that transmission is now phenomenal.
Yeah, it is good. I am going to take it easy because we keep feeling that slide that we're doing. Watch, I'll kind of roll it in. This car wants to drift.
Yeah, it is, dude, and I love it. I mean, I make it do it, so yeah.
It's great. Holy crap, dude. Yeah, the motor pulls much more linear than my motor. This N55 with a tune on it, it is far linear compared to my S55. It just feels like a naturally aspirated motor, but this one feels like really fast. Like I shouldn't say really fast. It just feels like insanely beefed up in comparison to my motor now. The power band is extremely linear. That's just due to the tune. I like this a lot. Like, god damn, this is fast. Woo! Nice and easy. These tires, man. These tires are wanting to grip, but they're like, I don't know. I don't feel like it right now. So we're gonna let it warm up just a little bit. Let's see. Woo!
Yeah, it's much more characterful, the N55.
Oh yeah,
the S55, as we have proved, is just as capable as a full bolt-on N55.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, on the frontage road in Mexico, we've proved that your car is every bit as fast as this, even though this at times feels way faster, just because it does have that more character. And you know, you can feel that single turbo a lot more than the S55, in my opinion.
It's a solid motor. The DCT is fantastic. So just going on the drivetrain, this whole combination, the shifts are just insanely crisp. Downshifts are fantastic. The motor, man, oh my god, like it's just like, oh, let's go. It's insanely punchy. Yet the power delivery, it's punchy, but it's smooth. So once it's in there, it's just going. It's going. And oh, that backfire is nice.
I love it, dude. It's my favorite.
Man, this makes me want to tune my car because again, in the S55, it just after about like 5,000 RPM, it just dies out. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel as linear. It just kind of like wheezes its way out there. But no, in terms of the handling, so we're on these lowering springs. There is a little bit of rub, just because I think the rebound stiffness of these springs is, you know, it's not exactly what you want when you lower a car like this, but I'm sure you'll get coilovers eventually someday. But for now, for daily driving and the way this looks, the fitment and stance of this car is gorgeous. And the brakes are definitely not as good as mine, but they're still very capable. So I've got the 6-pot, those really heavy brakes in mine, compared to the 4-pot in the fronts in these, and they're still really good and performance brakes. I'm sure all you need to do is just some braking fluid and swap out the pads. You're probably set for a little bit. Oh man. Now the tires are heating up. Yeah, you get that little bit of rub there. Yeah, this is a totally different animal than last time. I'm glad we came out here to refilm, man. This thing is, now that the tires are heated up, it's gripping really well. Like at first it was kind of like I would turn in and there would be some delay, and then all of a sudden the ass end kind of starts swinging around a little bit, but now that it's warmed up, this is solid, dude. I feel a little bit of roll up there in the front for the tires, but it's okay because we're on Michelin, right?
Yep.
I have this weird thing with Michelin because I love the tires, I love Michelins, but I feel like they're like really soft sidewalls, like they just kind of roll over each other.
Yeah, and especially too, I've gone for the same aspect ratio as the stock one, so the sidewall is much bigger than the factory tire, along with it just naturally being wider, obviously.
Right.
So I think that has to do a lot with it.
Definitely. That and Colby has no alignment done whatsoever in his car. Like, I think with the alignment done and everything, I think this car is going to shine extremely well because, again, with that front camber, you'll be able to roll into, so we're getting some push here. With that alignment, that would eliminate that push,
yeah,
and we'd be able to actually, like, you know, power on through the corner instead of understeering, because we're kind of understeering right now. Now the tires are getting heated up a little bit more, so that's the benefit of having those camber plates on these cars, is for the alignment. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, go through it. It's all good.
I'm apologizing because if y'all can't hear that, we rub a little bit on the steering wheel.
It has to do with my spacers, honestly.
$120. I'll get you a new fender liner. Is that okay?
Oh, good. No, you don't need to. I need to take the spacers off for tracking. What I need to do. But I'm a hot boy. I need the flush
Hot
fitment.
boy, yeah. This thing looks the part, and it goes, man. For street and daily, this car is perfect. And one of the aspects of this car that it has, we're getting a little bit of brake fade, so we're gonna do some cool down laps, but just kind of like talking about it a little bit more. This car for daily setup, it's way more playful. It's not as serious as the M2 Competition. I feel like this car just wants to dance around, and Colby does, you know, he does skid around on the streets of Mexico, whatever. And this car, I've been in the car with him while he's done some silly stuff every now and then, and it's just really communicative. It's telling you what it's doing. Like, that's one thing, like I notice all these things that are happening in this car, and that's good. I want that communication. Like this right here, the brakes in the front. Yep. We're gonna go ahead and let y'all know that the brakes in the front are a little bit heated up right now, yeah. So we're gonna kind of back off. This is where that brake fluid would really help out. Yep. But some cool down laps will be all right. Well, man, this car is a fantastic car. It's so much fun. Another thing real quick about the differential is I have a retuned differential in my car. In this car, you can get on the power. The thing is, it's not doing I think it's the yaw control, to where it kind of puts down the power a little bit better as far as coming out of a corner, whereas this one is just like, okay, my LSD is just gonna lock up and let's just go. Yeah, so that induces a little bit of slide, and that's why this one is a little bit more drift happy. So if you want just a fun, like, little drift car, this is the one you want. If you just want a fun, awesome canyon carver car, this is the one you want. This one is a lot of fun. I love M2s. Yeah. I love these cars. Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me thrash.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's go put these guys on the tier list, and I already know where they're going to rank because we've had 2 weeks to think about this. Yes. Well, it's been like 3 weeks. Yeah, it's been like 3 weeks. Anyways, we've had some time to think about this. At least I have, as far as where I'm going to put them. I just wanted to do this car justice, because the first time we came out, it did not do this car any justice. No. This is totally different, and you were not kidding whenever you told me it's a totally different car. So we're going to do that. See you on the tier list.
It's tier list time. We're going to be talking about Colby's OG M2, otherwise known as the original M2, versus my M2 Competition. Let's start with the drivetrain. The OG M2 is powered by an N55 B30 T0. In stock form, it produces 365 horsepower and 343 foot-pounds of torque, with an overboost function that brings it up to 369 foot-pounds of torque. The M2 Competition's S55 B30 TO is producing about 405 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. The N55 revs to 7,000 RPM, while the S55 revs to 7,500 RPM. Thing is, Colby's OG M2 with the N55 is not stock, it is tuned. I have a rough estimate of maybe around 430 to 450 crank horsepower. I'm not 100% sure. These two motors are based on the same block, but entirely different characteristics. The N55 in the OG M2 is single turboed, and it feels feels like more of a linear engine whenever you rev it through the power band. It just keeps a steady build in power the whole way up with nominal turbo lag. Meanwhile, the S55 in the competition has a little bit of turbo lag, and that's due to having 2 turbos and takes a little bit of buildup. And I gotta be honest with you, after about 5,000 RPM, I feel like the power band just kind of stays flat. The N55 is more inviting to rev out than the S55. Both are buttery smooth, but the S55 tends to kind of wheeze its way all the way to 7,500 RPM, right around 6,800 RPM, so there's really no point in taking it all the way to redline. The N55 with the tune was extremely responsive, very punchy, and just a really fun motor to modulate. The S55, despite its not super linear power band, is still a very rugged, awesome motor. If I were to compare feeling, I would say that the N55 feels like a naturally aspirated straight 6, while the S55 feels like a turbo truck engine. I would assume with a tune on my S55 it would just pull like a freight train. I think that BMW just detuned the S55 and the M2 down from the M3 and M4 because obviously you don't want to cannibalize your own sales, but also just so it wouldn't destroy these cars on the track in terms of straight line speed, because they do weigh a little bit less. I would feel like with that tune, that S55 would be a little bit more linear through the power band, where I feel like that detune was probably around 5,000 to 6,000 RPM from BMW. Both are fantastic engines with awesome overhead. I mean, who doesn't love a straight 6, especially a turbo straight 6 or even a twin turbo straight 6? This is like our new age 2JZ or RB era. This is amazing that we have stuff like this. Ultimately, in terms of engine, I feel like you wouldn't have to swap anything into these cars. You wouldn't have to put an LS in the M2. They are plenty sufficient. If I had to choose between one of these two engines, I would probably go with a B58. Oh no, I'm sorry. In terms of the chassis, both cars have the same chassis, same amazing platform. They have the M3 and M4 subframe bits put into this little short wheelbase car, and it's an amazing recipe. The chassis is extremely stiff and competent, very taut. However, the competition is a heavier car. The weights read as the OG M2 in a manual transmission form is 3,454 pounds, and the DCT weighs a stout 3,509 pounds. On the M2 competition, the manual transmission weighs 3,575 pounds, and the DCT weighs a hefty 3,630 pounds. With that weight, what you get in return is some great stability and high-speed cornering, and also a really stiff, very safe chassis that doesn't have a whole lot of flex at all. The transmissions are both really good. The DCT in Colby's car is, of course, tuned a little bit faster than stock. It's very snappy, very quick. It's not PDK fast, but it is very damn quick. Going back to the chassis and the weight, Colby's is more closer to BMW's ultimate driving 50-50 weight distribution, just because there is a little bit less weight in terms of the corner weight, and then also because he has one less turbo. There's a little bit more plumbing involved with the twin turbo on the S55. There's a little bit more cooling going on as well. Therefore, you're gonna put a little bit more weight on the front end of that car, on that front axle there. So one thing I really noticed is that Colby's car did rotate a little bit better than mine. It felt a little bit more playful. The turn-in was a little bit more direct and crisp and quicker than my car, and I really like that about the OG M2. It's got this very playful character about it, and it's just such a charming character, and it's very inviting for you to be like, hey, you know what, go ahead, chuck me into that corner, we can do this. My M2 competition, I do need to fight a little bit more. In stock form is extremely pushy and understeery, and that's on some Pilot Super Sport tires, which aren't the greatest track tires, but they're still very good tires. BMW tends to dial these in as quote-unquote idiot-proof cars so you don't end up in a ditch. I do have camber plates on my car, and that's the only modification for it to counter this understeer, which I hate understeer. This has made a substantial difference whenever I drive the car on track or a little bit harder through some corners. You can feel it want to actually go where you're turning the damn wheel, because oh man, that plow on my first couple of track days, they were really frustrating. In terms of the brakes, the M2 competition brakes are phenomenal. Yes, they add a lot of weight at the corners, however, they are incredibly great brakes. The trade-off is you get insane stopping power. The only thing I really have done to them is just some brake fluid. So literally only brake fluid and you're good to go for a track day on your M2 competition brakes. The OG M2 M2 4-piston compared to my 6-piston in the competition are good, but it's something you might want to change the pads out for and the fluids, and I think you'd be ready to rock. The OG M2 did have some heat issues. It was starting to wobble towards the end after about 4 or 5 laps of pretty good jabbing into the brakes. That, again, just some pads and some fluid, you're good to go. The competition brakes you can modulate really well with. You can dive real deep into a corner. I mean, they're made to go stopping really hard from 120 miles per hour. So if you are doing your track focus thing, I would look at getting the competition just for the brakes alone. But if you have the OG M2, again, some rotors, pads, like they have everything for these cars. These cars are a tuning hotbed. The differential in these cars are amazing. It'll tell you if it's drifting, and also it'll tell you if you're getting the grip. The ass end tends to slide out on these cars a little bit easier just because the wheelbase is only 108 inches long. These cars are a little stumpy. You can tend to rotate them mid-corner pretty easily, and if you want to step out and drift, they will absolutely do exactly what you want it to do. The differential was tuned a little bit finer in the M2 competition, so it's a little bit better. Also, with the OG M2, there's either traction control completely off or you have it on. There is no in-between mode, so BMW introduced MDM mode, which is basically M dynamic mode. It gives you a little bit more slip without completely swinging out. Now, if you start drifting, then the car is going to realize that and just kind of cut a little bit of power. It doesn't cut all of it, so it's a really sophisticated active differential control system. So with the M2 competition, I've noticed that whenever I drive it, I'm able to come out of corners a little bit harder just because I can get on the power earlier because that diff does a fantastic job. Yes, I know I do use the MDM mode and the auto rev match on the track just because it's a little easier for me. However, on the street, about 90% of the time, even when it's raining, I do drive full DSC off, which it turns off the auto rev match and also turns off traction control completely. I do this because heel toe downshifting in my M2 competition is a little frustrating. The clutch travels really far up, so heel toeing is a little bit difficult for me because also the brake is a little bit higher than the gas, but I'm able to do it. I'm not fully comfortable with myself just yet to do it on the track. I'm waiting to change out the pedals for some Turner Motorsport pedals, and hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. Final tier list rankings. I love both. It's cool that the cars are on the same exact platform, but they feel so different. I'm talking in terms of the DCT versus the manual, the OG M2's N55 versus the M2C's S55, the brakes, the tire setup, the suspension, the differential. I mean, they're just totally different cars. So there is no wrong answer. Now, if you're very serious about the track, the M2 competition is going to be the car to get. You're going to be paying for more, but then again, you're going to be paying for more to upgrade the M2 to get to that level. The fastest time I've set on Harris Hill is a 1:26.4. I'm pretty sure I can push it to a 1:25 something. Meanwhile, in Colby's M2, we got a 1:32 with Colby behind the wheel. I think if we were to fully push this car and maybe get a few more laps and not worry about the brakes so much, I believe this car is capable of around a 1:28. Now let's see where they place. I gotta do some rearranging real quick. Boom, so there we have it. I placed my M2 competition right behind Matt's LS 240SX, and Colby's OG M2 sits right behind, very close to Mark's RX-7. The only reason why Colby's M2 is not behind my M2 is because Mark's RX-7 is so theatrical. I actually had a really hard time even putting my car in front because it's such an experience, man. Like, you smell the smells, you smell the premix, you hear the turbo, you feel everything, and it's super analog. Like, it's an amazing car. I'm still having a really hard time even putting my car in front of it because I love that JDM flair. However, my car on track is just a totally different animal than on the street. Once again, I'm going to say it, you cannot go wrong with either M2. All and every M2 are amazing cars. Despite being a little bit heavier than I'm used to, I love my car so much. It is by far my favorite car to date, and I think I've owned probably 30 or so cars in my lifetime so far. Anyways, if you made it this far, please like, please subscribe. It's free. Thank you so much for watching. Incoming revving clip of my M2 competition. It's nothing pretty, guys. I mean, an S55, let's face it, they're not the best sounding straight six out there. They're probably some of the worst ones. But anyways, you've been warned. Bye.